Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you who have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com. And those of you who continue using the QR code or the link provided on Facebook and YouTube, we thank all of you for your continued support and for your commitment to be with us every day right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, while we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you, to address all of the issues of life that you might find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. So I'm going to begin by saying to all of our listeners and viewers, we are Facebook Live, we are YouTube Live at Daily Divine Direction, so you can encourage your family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues to tune in on Facebook or on YouTube at Daily Divine Direction. And for those of you who are tuned in every day, we want to thank you for being tuned in and connected with us every day throughout the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through our internet radio station, WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio at WKAPFaith.com. Tell everyone you know that we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. So I'm going to go back to Friday's broadcast, not in the sense of going back to exactly the communications that were sent in, but the fact that I've been getting a lot of communications, and I'm going to say this, about dating and about relationships. So, it's just been, they've been coming in one after another in bulk. Pardon me. From both men and women. I'm going to take a drink of Earth's finest water here because my allergies are apparently causing me a problem. So bear with me. And I'm going to say this, for all of you who've been tuned in, so many of you are talking about relationships, talking about being unmarried, talking about dating. We've been receiving so many communications about the topic that I knew it was time to address this. And we are now 5 years into the Daily Divine Direction. So let's just make it a point to spend some time really addressing this topic. And this is the time of year also when holiday season comes that people start talking a lot about relationships. So we're going to deal with what we have in front of us. One of our listeners and viewers sent in a communication saying that you are age 39, unmarried, and you want to be married. However, the men you are dating are not looking for marriage. The problem is that our society has really taught a lot of things that are not conducive to being married. And so I'm going to address a lot of this today, really go through some of the communications about this topic. And the first thing I want to begin with is that we've got to understand that 50% of the people in America, 50% are unmarried. There's approximately a 50% divorce rate. There are approximately 50% that are unmarried and unacknowledged. So you've got to look at it from the perspective of there are people who are living life alone because society has taught them to be, and particularly for women. So I need to break this down. And, you know, if I get some hate mail, I'll deal with it, but I'm going to keep it real, and I'm going to say one of the problems that we have in society is that for a long time, men, we were not being men. We were getting caught up in, you know, the traps of society, and we were not being men of God. Now what's happened is that men realize that there's a better way to be a man. Now I'm not saying all men, but there's a better way for us to be men, which means, you know, loving our families, taking care of our families, loving our wives, loving our children, guiding the household, being the head of the household, and that's the order of God. The problem is, in addition to society teaching men that we couldn't do things the right way, it then taught women, and I don't want to get ahead of myself because, you know, there's another communication from someone else who said exactly this. Society taught women that they don't need a man. No, what you don't need is a man who doesn't choose to be a man of God. Now, that doesn't imply that any man on two legs, and I know a lot of women have said, you know, all men are dogs, and, you know, that's a four-legged creature. We are two-legged creatures. The reality is that now men are trying to line up with God. We're trying to line up with the spirit, the spiritual component, which is the Spirit of God. And so we're trying to do a better job. We're not perfect, but we're trying to do better to just be able to make certain that we lead our families effectively and efficiently, that we are leading them in the path that God would have us to go. But women have been taught that you don't need a man. Well, you don't need a man today. But just as the Bible said it's not good for man to be alone, you don't eventually want to be the cat lady. You know, it's one of the things, and I will share this. I've made a joke about this because my wife and I have, you know, really focused on teaching our children not only to be, you know, good people, but we've taught them about building wealth. We've taught them about being homeowners. They're now both homeowners. And we've been teaching them that process. Not because we want them to live their lives alone, but we want them to be able to build wealth. And the problem is that society's been teaching women that they don't need a man. But just like the Bible said it's not good for man to be alone, one of the things I said to my daughter is, the reason I want you to build wealth is not because I don't want her to get married, and not because I don't want her to be led by the right man, a man of God, a man who loves God. That's my prayer for her. But I don't want her to be the cat lady. So, you know, I don't want her someday eating cat food because, you know, she's not prepared. So, you know, we've been building wealth for our family. So, you know, we know she's going to be fine, but that doesn't mean she should not have a husband. Just what God joins together. So the reality is that if I can do this. Every man needs a woman. Every woman needs a man. The Bible tells us to be fruitful and multiply. You cannot do that without one another. And it also said replenish the earth. We're destroying our society because we're telling people it's okay to be alone. It's okay to be independent. It's okay to, not have children. It's okay to not get married. It's the old adage, the devil is a liar. That is the trick of the enemy. If we're going to fulfill God's word, we have to, watch this, be married, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. That's the only way we're going to build a better society. But our society is deteriorating daily because of all these things that we've been taught and that we're teaching. And we have to do a better job of that. You say at 39, you're unmarried, you want to be married, the men you're dating are not looking for marriage, then you're dating the wrong man. If a man does not have marriage on his mind, he is not focused on being married, being fruitful, multiplying, replenishing the earth, and building a legacy of God, then you're dating the wrong men. And at 39, you really don't want to continue dating the wrong men. Then you have to ask yourself, what have you done to prepare yourself for men who do want to be married? And we're struggling with that in our society today because society keeps telling women over and over again, you don't need a man. The reality is that we need each other for the purpose of God. We need each other. And we keep eliminating one or the other from the equation. Men, I'm not going to let you off the hook. This woman at 39 says she wants to be married. She's dating men who are not looking for marriage. The problem is, what are we looking for? We're looking for a hottie. We're looking for, I think they've got a term, a baddie. That's a problem. If you're looking for a baddie, that means you're looking for something that's bad. And I'm not talking about the way she looks. I'm talking about it's bad for you. We've got to recognize the importance of trying to get this right, get it in order, decent and in order. Trying to do the right thing every day. And the right thing is only the thing that lines up with God. We got to understand the importance of that. So you're 39, you're unmarried, you want to be married, you're dating men who are not looking for marriage. Stop dating those men. And how do you know? So I've used this revelation many, many times. And you're gonna hear me doing that a lot. Over these last 5 years, I've been saying this over and over again. We're dating for the wrong reasons. So we've been taught by society that dating is about having a good time. Dating is not about having a good time. Pardon me. Dating is about determining your mission. Again, allergies are bothering me, so you have to bear with me because we're live in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. I think that's the first time in a long time I've had to drink twice during the broadcast, but it's necessary. And so here's the reality, because my sinuses and allergies are bothering me. Here's the reality. You've got to date with a mission. And the mission should be marriage for all of us. And I'm going to start really repeating this over and over again until we get it right. Society has been repeating their message over and over again, and it's sunk in, and now we've dug our heels in and we've decided I can do this by myself. And here's a cliche, I can do bad by myself. Well, The problem is we wouldn't be doing bad if we lined up our way with God's way and our will with God's will. Why would you want to do bad? See, we don't even think about some of the cliches that society comes up with. Some of the cliches that are created are more damaging than they are helpful, most of them. Now, if you're talking about early to bed, early to rise makes a man or woman healthy, wealthy, and wise, that's not a bad cliche. And the Bible really gives us clarity on that. Every cliche that's ever written was written based on something that's in the scripture. Now, why would you want to do bad by yourself when you could become equally yoked with someone who may not today be in any greater shape than you're in, but together the two of you are stronger. Together the two of you can work to build something. Together you can create a life that will allow you to maximize the quality of life. But society has our thought process skewed, and consequently we're looking, and here's another one, but we're looking for love in all the wrong places. We've got to prepare ourselves for love. We've got to prepare ourselves for marriage. And we have to live to fulfill the word of God in our lives, which is, once again, be fruitful. You remember, he gave Adam Eve, right? And then commanded them to be fruitful and multiply. So, and replenish the earth. So we don't want to forget that. It's our job to replenish the earth. Now, I know you may be saying, well, there's a lot of people on the earth. I don't have to be the one to replenish it. No, that's what God commanded for every man and woman. And now, once again, society really got people believing that you don't need to have children because listen, if God does not open your womb to have children, then he's got another purpose for you. And it may be for caring for someone who doesn't have a parent, an orphan. I get it. All of these things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. That might be the purpose. But we have to first try to live out the word of God. And living that out means getting married, being fruitful, multiplying, replenishing the earth. Those are the things that God assigned for us to do. And people are getting married at a later point in life, and then they are not fulfilling the will of God for their lives, and then they wonder why life isn't what they would like it to be. Well, because we're out of line. We're not in step with God. So let's think about this, because I'm going to have to do a little business for one of my sponsors in a moment. But let's think about this. If you want to be married, you have to prepare yourself for marriage. If you want to be married, you have to open your, not just open your mouth, you have to open your heart for marriage. That means all the baggage that you're carrying from past relationships, you've got to unpack your baggage, put your suitcases away, and you got to say, I'm open to someone coming into my life, a man of God coming into my life, and together we're going to build the life that God has purposed for each and every one of us. You've got to be willing for that. You cannot be sitting around waiting for Mr. Right. You need to be waiting for Mr. Righteous. Somebody who's decided, you know what, I want to try to live this godly life and walk it out and build what God has. Remember, God created, so he expects us to create a life that's pleasing unto him. But we've got to work to that end. You know, you got guys out here chasing the video girl. You got women out here chasing the bag. society's got us all messed up, confused. And the problem is, if we don't seek the righteousness of God, the right thing, then we'll begin to create our own righteousness. How's that working for us? I'm going to get back to that in a moment. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you are you have a very high income for a woman. You said over $100,000 a year. However, you're having difficulty developing and maintaining relationships with men who are in your income bracket. Okay, so here's part of the problem. You have had a difficulty developing, you were having a difficulty developing relationships before you were making $100,000 a year. Now you're in a higher income bracket and you're looking at men who are in your income bracket. You aren't having a problem dating them, but you're having a problem developing and maintaining relationships. So you have to look at why you're having the difficulty developing a relationship. You know, you're being identified and found by men who are interested in dating, and hopefully they're looking for marriage. That's what you're dating, that's what you're attracting, because remember, men who are in that tax bracket are interested in having a wife and building a legacy. You know, I can remember many years ago, decades ago, in the corporate environment, if you were a man and you were not married in the corporate environment, now things change a little bit, I get it, because society has changed. But in reality, if you weren't married, you were considered irresponsible. If you were not married and had children, the likelihood of you being promoted or fast-tracked were not very likely. And the reason is because you were not stable. Society has changed some of the norms, and so therefore we think it's okay not to be married, not to have children, and to be living the single life. You know, there was a show on television once upon a time, because I've heard the commercials, Living Single. So that was supposed to teach people how to live single, be upwardly mobile and living single. Once again, how'd that work out for us? You know, society will have us believing that all of these things are the appropriate way to live. Make a high income and do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, you're still having difficulty developing and maintaining relationships. You're not having a problem dating. You're just having a problem developing and maintaining a relationship. And the reason is because society has also taught you the independence of being at a high level of earning. And consequently, these men that you encounter who are in the same tax bracket that you're in, they're not willing to put up with the attitude of, I don't need you, I want you. They're not going to, listen, that's not an attitude that's conducive for developing and maintaining a relationship. And, can I keep it real? If you date someone who's not in that income bracket, they're still not going to put up. They may date you for a while, but they're not going to put up long term. They're not going to accept that you don't need them, you want them. because then they just become the next man up. No man wants to be just the next man up. We don't mind that you've had other relationships. Men don't mind that. I don't care what level of earning they're in, what tax bracket they're in. Men don't mind that you've had other relationships. Not a real man, because he's not threatened by that. What he doesn't want to be is just the next man up. Because men traditionally, so no one wants to use that word in today's society because we're getting away from traditions. But men traditionally want to be married and want to have children. Now I get it. Some people are more interested in just impregnating women, and they hope to build their legacy by the fact that they've got a lot of children spread out all over the place. Hopefully, if I throw enough against the wall, something will stick. One of those children will do something great. That's what they hope for. But that's not most men. That's a small fraction of the male population who are willing to live that life. Then you have another fraction of the population that says, okay, even if we don't get married, we can just have children and raise our children. Separately, but together. Another thing that society has taught us, how's that working for you? Because at the end of the day, even if you're raising them individually, raising them together but separately, that means you both have to support yourself and the child. We've got to really recognize the importance of getting back to the basics. And so let me say this to you. Developing a relationship, not just dating, developing a relationship requires us to be able to communicate effectively and efficiently, to be able to understand the importance of the common goal, which is to build a great quality of life. That's really what this comes down to. And so many of you have heard me talk about this before. The goal is to build a great quality of life. But we have to understand what that looks like. We have to really get to know and get a better understanding of what a great quality of life truly is. We think in our society today that a great quality of life is, and I'm going to say this out loud, and I want everyone to examine how this really sounds. We think a great quality of life is if I can travel, if I can pay my bills and live, exist, and travel and do what I want to do. We think that's a great quality of life. That's not a great quality of life. That's life. That's just living. But the question is, do we want a great quality of life? Do we want to not just, people say, well, that's enough. No, it really isn't. Because that's only internal. The question is, how can we have an impact externally? And the only way we're going to do that is to build a legacy for God. The only way we're going to do that is to be able to not only take care of ourselves, but to be a functioning part of society that's going to allow us to have an impact on the lives of others. Because only what you do for God will last. Only what you do for the Lord will last. That's how it lives on. Making the world better than it was when you came in. And truthfully, there's strength in numbers. Another cliche. So if there's two of you doing that, building that kind of life, that kind of legacy, you're going to have so much more impact. And then if you raise up your children to do the same thing, you're going to have even more impact. We're going to make a much better society. But it requires work. It requires being intentional. It requires focus. It requires all of the things, discipline, all of the things that we don't want to do because society's taught us not to do them. We've fallen, and at some point, we've got to get up. We've got to get up, hold our head up, put our shoulders back and say, Lord, what would you have me to do? What would you have me to do this day and every day moving forward that's going to really allow me to enter into the fullness of God and to live my life to bring you glory? Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com.